In 2009, I was diagnosed with a medical condition called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. It is often abbreviated as POTS. With this health affliction, my heart races when I stand up. I also experience other medical issues with my autonomic nervous system, such as heat and cold intolerance, GI disturbances, light sensitivity, etc. When I researched POTS, I found some medical institutes called POTS, simply Postural Tachycardia Syndrome. They dropped the word orthostatic from the name. Sometimes POTS is still abbreviated as POTS because the doctors like to take the first two letters from postural and then the first letter from tachycardia and the first letter from syndrome. The abbreviation would be written as capital P, lowercase o, capital T, capital S. While researching further, I also came across some scientists dropped the O from POTS and abbreviated the word PTS, representing the first letters in postural tachycardia syndrome. So to summarize, my medical condition is known as postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, or postural tachycardia syndrome. It can be abbreviated as capital P, capital O, capital T, capital S, or capital P, lowercase o, capital T, capital S, or capital P, capital T, capital S. With all these variations, medical errors are bound to happen. When I was first diagnosed with POTS in 2009, I made sure I put on all my medical forms my diagnosis. At the time, this was the only thing known to be wrong with me. It was yet to be discovered I had mitochondrial disease, chronic pancreatitis, and a number of other health afflictions. During one hospitalization, I was given a psychiatric evaluation. I was confused by this. Although I have had a number of psychiatric consultations in the past, I was baffled why I was being given one when I was in the hospital for an obvious medical issue, pancreatitis. Did the doctors think I was making up my pain and abnormal blood work? As always, I was polite to the psychiatrist. I answered all the questions and the doctor left. Upon discharge, I looked at my paperwork. I saw listed for a diagnosis was PTSD. I was baffled by this. PTSD? When did I ever have PTSD? In case you are wondering, PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. Many people develop this medical condition after suffering a very stressful life situation. I read my medical summary, which stated the following. This is a 26-year-old female who has a history of postural tachycardia syndrome disease. After this statement, there were parentheses with the abbreviation PTSD. The doctor decided to abbreviate my medical condition, but he did not know the correct name of my medical ailment, and furthermore, he used the wrong abbreviation. So for the rest of my medical chart, it stated I had PTSD. I am sure when other doctors looked at my medical report, they simply saw the abbreviation PTSD and did not bother to look at what it actually stood for, which in this case was postural tachycardia syndrome disease. This is very likely why I received a psychiatric consultation. They were evaluating me for post-traumatic stress disorder, a condition I do not have. When I started getting more and more diagnoses, I began picking and choosing which medical conditions I tell my doctors I have. Since 80% of people with mitochondrial disease have postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, I have stopped telling my providers I have POTS. If my heart rate is elevated, or if I'm having issues with my autonomic nervous system, I just tell my physician it is part of mitochondrial disease. The fewer medical conditions I list, the less likely there'll be a medical error. The hospital in which it is recorded I have PTSD, I have never had the medical record changed. My doctor no longer works at that hospital, and I'm very unlikely to go back there again for treatment. But if I do find myself at that medical facility in the future, I will see if the medical record can be corrected. Thank you so much for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe down below. I hope you have a great day and a wonderful week. Bye-bye.